All right. Hello, everybody. Today, in today's class, let us discuss about file and directory permissions. Okay, file and directory permissions. Okay, here we'll basically work with two syntaxes here. One is called as stat. Second one is called as chmod. Okay, we'll run couple of we'll create couple of files and we'll give permissions. Okay, before we do some practice, let us understand about chmod little bit. There are two ways we can give permissions to files or directories. Okay, by using chmod. One is called as symbolic. Okay, one is called as symbolic. Okay, in symbolic we basically use something called as r, w and x. So in this, r stands for read, w stands for write, x stands for execute. Okay, so that means we can give only a read access of a file, or a read and write access, or execute. These are the three different types of permissions that we can give to a file. Now let's say if I mention r, w and x, that means we are giving full permissions to that particular file. And we can give permissions to the file at a group level, at a user level, or people who are not part of any group, or other users who are not owner of this particular file. Okay, we'll understand once we do some hands-on exercise. This is one way. Now there is another way. This is by representing in a symbolic way. Okay, there is another way we can give permissions by using something called as simply we can call it as numbers. In tech terms, we can call it as octal. Okay, so how these numbers permissions with the numbers work? Now let me give some example here. Now let us say, um, let's say read is equal to 4. That means if I have to give a read permissions, let's say it is 4. Write is 2. Execute is 1. Okay, now let's say for a user, if I have to give full permission, that means read, write and execute. So what is the total of 4 to 1? It is going to be 7. Now for let's say for group, I want only to give read and write permissions, so it is 6. For others, I just want to give read permission, so it will be 464. Okay, now if I give permissions like so let's say this 464, what permissions it will give for owner or user full permissions. Okay, let me put this in this way. Owner of the file 7, group. Okay, what is the permissions I'm giving for group? Let's say 6. Others, let's say I'm giving 1. Let's say I'm giving 4. That means only read permissions. Now let us say if I want to give owner also full access, a group also full access, and others also full access, then it will be 7. So for group also full access, read, write and execute. That means 4, 2, 1. So it will be 7. For others also full access, it will be 7. Okay. Now let us say I want to give uh, read and execute access for the owner. So it will be read is 4, execute is 1. So it will be 5. For group, I want to give only read access. It will be 4. For others, only a read access. 5, 4, 4. So based on what kind of access that we have to give to the owner or to the group or to others, we have to use this particular numbers. Okay, so this will be with the help of chmod. So the syntax would be something like this: chmod 777, and let's say the file name. So that file will get these permissions based on the numbers. All right, we'll execute this and see first, and then we will execute, give the permission. First we will create a file and we'll give the permissions to the file in a symbolic manner, and then we'll give the permissions to the file by using numbers. Okay, let me switch to my server here. Okay, let's say I'm logging into the server. It is transferring the keys to the virtual machine. Okay, let the server get connected. Okay, you see now I'm on the server. Let me clear, and I am as a this user here. Let me change to the root user, sudo su. Now I'm into the root user. Let me change to the root folder, cd space slash. Now I'm in a root user. Okay, now let's say I want to, first of all, I want to use the command called as stat. Okay, no, before I run stat, let me create one directory, and let me create a file in the directory, and let's see the permissions first, then only we can change, right? First let me see the permissions. Let's say to create a directory, mkdir, I'll give the directory name as level up. Okay, and let me enter into this directory. To enter into this directory, I can use the syntax like cd level up. Okay, now I'm inside this directory. If I see ls, there are no files here. Let me create one file. Okay, let's say cat, and the file name I'll give it as file1.txt. Okay, I will give the data as this is demo for permissions. All right, enter and do a control D. Now if I do ls, I can see there's a file. Now I want to know what are the permissions that is given to this particular file. Let us use something called as stat and the file name. The file name is file1.txt. Enter. Now you see this file.txt here. Okay. Now you see here, this is the basically access that is given to this particular user. Now let me copy this. Okay, and let's paste here to explain you guys. Now for the owner, what access he has? So this, let's divide into these three parts. Okay, so this particular access is for the owner of the file, and this second is for the group. Let's say if there are 10 users in the group, what access they have, and the third is for others who is not part of that group and who is not a owner of that particular file. Now the owner has a read and write access. You see, R and W is given, so it is read and write. For the group, he has only the members in the group only can read. There is no write access, there is no execute access. And for others also, there is write access. Okay. Now you see there's a hyphen here. Okay, let us understand what does that mean. So let me go back to the server. Now let's say cd dot dot back. Okay, I'll give stat now, and now I'm giving a directory name. Let's say I'm giving a directory that we have created and enter. Now if you see, this is the one which is there. Let me copy this also. All right. Now let me come back and paste. Now let's say this, let me put a pipe in between. Okay, now you see here D. D means what? It understands this particular file is a directory. Okay, so if it is D, that means if any permissions, if we see starting with D, you can understand that is a directory, and the owner of this directory has a read, write, and execute. Okay, you see WR, there is no execute for the owner of this file, but this particular directory, the owner is having read access, write access, as well as execute. But if you see, this group has only read access and execute access, but there is no write access to this particular owner. And if you see others, they also have write access and execute access, but sorry, they have read access and execute access, but they don't have any write access. Okay, that is how you need to understand this permissions. So the first is for the owner of that particular file or directory. Second is group, what access the group has. And the third part is for the others, who is not a owner of the file, who is not part of that particular group. That is how we should understand what permissions that file is basically having. Now let us understand what is difference between a write access and a execute access. So read access means we all know that we can read a file, right? Write access is we can modify the files. But if I have some code, let's say a shell script or a Python code or any other code. So basically, let's say in Linux, if you're running ls, that means basically it is nothing but some file that you're running. So if you have to run that ls, you need to have execute permissions. That means any file like a code, if you want to run that code, you need to have that execute permissions. Write is either writing data or reading, deleting data from a file. Read is reading a file. Execute means running the code in that particular file. Okay, that is what difference between a write and execute. Now let us go ahead and change these permissions, first of all with symbolic method, and then we will change the permissions by using numbers. Okay, let me go to my server. Okay, now I'm back on my server. Okay, now let me go into this folder called as level up. I'm this folder. Let me do a ls. Okay, I can see this particular file. Okay, now let me, okay, let use another syntax here called as ls hyphen l. The here L stands for long listing. Enter. Now you see here also I can see the permissions in this manner also. Okay. Now let us change this. Okay, now we are there in this root user root. I don't want to make change permissions here. Let me go back. Okay, I have created in this root. Okay, that's fine. Let's say we have to use a syntax called as chmod. Okay, so we have to use the syntax called as chmod, and let us say what access I want to give. Read, write, execute to user, right? Okay, so let me give here u stands for user. User equal to, I'll give w, sorry, read, write, and execute. On which file? File1.txt, and enter. It's saying you, I think there's an issue with the space here. Let's say enter now. Now you see For the user, I have given read, write, and execute. Okay. Now let me run ls-l again and check that. You see now the user got read, write, and execute. Okay. Now let's say for group, I want to give read and write access only. Okay. Now let's say again it will be chmod, and now for what user, for what permissions I need to change? I need to change the permissions of a group. I want to give read and write, right? So go to chmod g is equal to rw. Okay, and there is no space here. For which file? file1.txt. Enter. Okay, now let us run this again. ls-l. Now you see the group got read and write permission. Okay, now let us give for others also read and write permission. To give others read and write permission, it would be chmod. Now others, what is that? It would be o stands for others, and I want to give read and write permissions to the file1.txt and enter. Now if I give ls-l, which is long listing, I can see the change in the permissions here. So read, write, execute to owner, read, write to group, and read, write permissions to the uh, others. Now let's say I want to give read, write, execute to both, to all three, like for owner also, for group also, and for others also. All we need to do is that we can combine all these three: chmod, user, group, owner. Okay, what permissions they should have? I'll say read, write, execute. On what file? file1.txt. Enter. Okay, now here we can give -v also. And we can give -v here, not at the end. Oh yeah, so it is already displayed here, right? So when I give -v, you see it is showing the what is the permissions that is there: read, write, execute, read, write, execute, and read, write, execute. Let us run this also and see. So all the users now has a read, write, execute. Now file1.txt, is it a file or a directory? Now if you see the first one, if it is hyphen, that means it is not a directory, so it is a file. Similarly, we can give permissions on the directory also. Now let me go back. Okay, let us see what permissions this directory has. Let's say ls -l. So our directory name is level up. So these are the permissions it is having. Okay, read, write, execute, only read and execute, read and execute. Okay, now I want to give read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute for all, for on this particular directory. Then I can use the syntax. Let me clear this first. I can use the syntax chmod user group others is equal to read, write, execute for the folder directory level up. Okay, -v. Now we will see what is the actual permissions and what it is changed to. Enter. You see mode of level up changed from 0, from this, it is the one which is actually having now. It has been changed to this one. Okay. Now let us do a ls and l and check that. If you see here, the permissions for this particular directory has been changed. Okay. Now let me go to the folder level up. Okay, let me go to the text file. Now you see, this is how we can give permissions by using this method called as symbolic method. by using a syntax chmod. Now next, let us give the permissions for users for the files and directories by using this numbers. Okay, so I told you read is equal to 4, write is equal to 2, x is equal to 1. So if a owner has to get full permissions, then you have to give 4 to 1. You need to add up 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. If group has to get only read and write permissions, it will be 4 plus 2 6. That means if it is 6 means what? The group will get read permissions as well as write permissions. Okay, let us go to the server and let's check that. Okay, let me create a new file here. Let's say cat second dot txt. This I'm just creating a file. This is also for demo of permissions. Control D, and now the file is created. Let us see the permissions of this particular file ls-l. Now if you see this second file which has a read write for owner of this particular file, read for group, and read for others. Now let us change this by using a number method, but syntax will remain the same. It will be chmod. Okay, now what is that? Read means 4, write means 2, execute means 1. So I need to give full access, read, write, execute. So it will be 7. Now let's say for others, read is enough. So read is what? 4. For group also 4 is enough. So for group 4, for group I want to have that only read access. So 4. For others only read access. So 4. Only for user full access, read, write, and execute. So 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. And then let me give the file name. Okay, and then run. Now let us see ls-l. Okay, now if you see, all the users has the user has read, write, execute. The owner has only group has only the owner has read, write, execute. The group has only read access, and others has only read access. Now let me give a read and write access to the group as well. So how can I give that? So chmod. So read and write means what? 4 plus 2. So it will be 7, 6. And for others, I want only read access. 7, 6, 4 and the file name. Enter ls-l. Now you can see a group got read and write. Okay, others got only read access. Now let's say I want to give others also read and write access. So then I need to change this to 766. So now group full access, users full access, group read write access, others read write access for this file. Now enter ls-l. Now you can see there's a change. The use group, it is having only read access here, but here it is having read, write, execute access. Okay, now let's say I want read, write, execute for the owner of the file and read, write, execute for the others, not for the group. Okay, now let's see how to do that. Chmod. Okay, read, write, execute means 7 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 7. Okay, now only read and write for the group. So it will be 4 plus 2, 6. I want read, write, execute for the others. So it will be 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. And what file? The file will be, this is the file name. Okay. And enter. Let's do ls-l. Now we can see the owner of the file got read, write, execute. Others got read, write, execute. But the group has only read, write, execute. Okay. Now let's say I want to give for everybody read, write, execute. Okay. So they might ask in interviews if I want to give full permissions to everybody for group, for user and others, what would be the syntax? So it will be chmod 777 and the file name. Enter. Okay. ls hyphen l. Now if you see, the group has, everybody has full access. The owner of the file, group and others has full access. Now let's say I'm giving something like this and enter. Okay, now what everybody will have read and write access. Nobody will have execute access. You see, everybody has read and write access. So that is how you can give permissions to the files by using number and symbolic method. Okay, if you see here, so first command stat. Stat is basically used to see the current permissions of that particular file. Like which owner has what permission, group has what permissions, and others has what permissions. We can see that with the stat. And chmod is basically to change the permissions. Okay, we can use chmod in two types. One is symbolic. If you have to use symbolic method, R stands for read, W stands for write, X stands for execute. So whatever permissions you need to mention all that. So the syntax here, it would look something like this, which is like chmod. Okay. And if it is user, user is equal to what permissions you want to give. If you want to give full permissions and the file name. Okay. Now chmod, if you want to give permissions to only group is equal to, if you want to give only read and write, only read and write and the file name. Okay, now let's say if I want to give permissions only to user and others, you will see chmod user others. If I want to give same permissions, let's say read and write permissions, read and write and file name. So you can use a combination of U, G, and O, that is user, group, and others. If you want to give same permissions, you can mention. If you have to give same permissions for all three, then you can mention user, group, and others. If you want to give full permissions, R, read, write, and execute, and the file name. All right, this is how we give permissions by using symbolic method, and permissions by using number. We have read is equal to predefined as 4, write is equal to 2. That means if at all anybody wants to give read permissions, you have to give the number 4. Write 2, x is equal stands for 1. Okay, now if we have to give all the three permissions, read, write, execute, to the owner of the file, then I need to add up 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7. If we have to give group only read, write, okay, that is how you can manipulate or give permissions. Okay, if you have to give full permissions, it will be chmod 777 and the file name. This is how basically we give permissions to the users either on files or directories. So the same thing applies for the directories as well. All right. Now, let us say we have given permissions, right? But let's say if I want to remove permissions, we can also remove permissions. Now let us say I will give something like this chmod mod, let's say g minus w, comma, and let's say for others I want to remove write and execute permission. Okay. Now if I give this and the file name, okay, let us execute this and check. Let me go to the server. Okay, let's say chmod g minus, okay, g minus w, comma, o minus w for the file second dot txt. Okay, now that means for this particular file there is write access for group also, write access for other also. I am removing that. So minus stands for, g stands for group, right? For group remove the write access, for others remove the write access, and then enter. Okay, now let us use ls hyphen l again and run that. Now you see, for group write access is removed, for others also write access is removed. Okay, by using these combinations, whichever user group or others, whatever permissions that they require, you need to generate the syntax for that and run that particular syntax, so appropriate people will get permissions either on files or directories. Now let us say I'm using the terms owner, group, and others, right? So what does this mean? Let's say now if I create the file, let's say I created a file by name second.txt, right? Okay, that means I'm the owner of this particular file. And again, we know that whenever we create any user, the user will also be in some group. So whatever group that he belongs to, if there are others users in that group, okay, so those users will get the group access. So that is what group is. So whoever users are there in the particular group. Now let's say when we speak about others, let's say on our system there are 100 users. These are all are 100 users. So now if I give read write x to 100 users, so all the users will get read write access. But let us say there is one user by name Yavo, and I just want to give him read access. I don't want to give read write access to Yavor, but all other users should get read write access. Only Yavor should get read access. Then how can I achieve this? We can achieve this by using something called as ACLs. ACL stands for access control list, to give permissions to users who are not owner, who are not in group. But if we want to give different permissions to different other users, we can use ACLs. Okay, now let's do a little hands-on exercise on this. We'll understand this better. Let me switch to the server. Okay, now I am here in a folder called as level up. Let me come back to root. Okay, clear. Okay, let's do a ls. These files are there. Okay, now I want to create a file here. Let's say cat, let me create an empty file. Touch F1, enter. Okay, now let's see the permissions of this particular file. ls hyphen l. So what is the file name? F1, right? If you see, the group and the other users have only read permissions, they don't have any write permissions. So let me switch to user Okay, now I'm in this user now. Okay, let me try to make edit to this particular file called as f1. So let's say cat, it is there under slash, right? Slash f1, enter. You see, this is saying permission denied because this user Ramya is not there in this particular group also, right? So she's a other user. Other user has only read permissions. She don't have any write permissions, so it got denied. Now what will we do? Only for the user Ramya, I want to give write permissions, not for all other users. So first of all, let me go to the root. Okay, sudo su, enter. Okay, now I'm at a root user. And now let us see what are the ACLs on that file. To see the ACLs on that file, the syntax would be get ACL and the file name. File name is, and the file name is F1. Now you see, actually it is not get ACL, it is get FACL. That means get file access control list. Okay, and then enter. It says command not found. I think ACL is not installed in this. Let me update that. Sudo apt update first. Sudo apt install ACL and then run. Okay, this ACL is installed. Now let me clear and run this syntax now. Get FACL F1. Now you see the file name is F1. The owner is root. Group is root. User is having read write permissions. Group is having only read permissions. Others are having only read permissions. Now I want to change this. Now for that user Ramya, I want to change the permissions. So to get the ACL, it is get FACL. To set the permissions, it will be set FACL. Hyphen M stands for modify. For whom? For user, right? For what is the username? Okay. And what permissions I want to give? Read and write. And what file? F1 is the file. And press enter. Now that particular user got read write access. Now let us see again by using the syntax called as getf ACL F1. Now if you can see the user, it is mentioned the username. This particular user has a read write access. Okay. Now let me shift to that user. Sudo okay. Now I logged in as user Ramya. Now let us see whether I can make changes to this particular file or not. Cat uh, let's say cat F1, enter. Now you see I have permission. This is new file, control D. Okay. Now or else we can also do this. Okay, now let's say I did not give the path, right? It has created a new file. Let's say cat slash F1. That means the file which is there in the path root. Enter. This is root file, control D. Okay, see that is how only this user has a read write permissions. Now let us say ls. Okay, now let's say exit. If I give ls hyphen l, okay, if I give this, you see this F1, it is having basically read permissions only for all other users, but only for this user Ramya, it is having read and write permissions. Okay. Again, you see there's something new here. There's a plus mark. What is this plus mark? This plus mark determines that there is a uh, one ACL user. That means there is one special permission given for one particular user. Okay, that is how you can set ACLs by using get of ACL and set of ACL. Okay, now let me run. Okay, these are all the syntaxes that I have ran. I will share it with you guys. Okay, you can run all these syntaxes and check. Okay, now let me go to this file here. In the ACLs, we have used the, let me copy that first. Okay. Now, in the ACLs here, we have used, so what is this use? It is used to give permissions permissions of files to a specific user. Okay. And what is the syntax to see the complete ACLs? Getf ACL and the file name. Okay, and to give permissions, to change the permissions, it will be setfacl hyphen m. U stands for username. Okay, whatever permission, if it is read write, it will be read write. If it is read write execute, it will be read write execute. Or if it is only write permissions. So whatever permissions that you need to give, and the file name. All right, this is how we can give permissions to only few users in the part of other. Okay, so basically what we have learned is that we understood how to give permissions to files and directories by using syntaxes like stat command, sorry, chmod. In chmod we have symbolic and number. We saw how to give the permissions, and we also saw how to remove the permissions, and we understood how to use access control list to give permissions to specific users. All right, so I will share this uh, text file after we finish the class, so you can practice all this and make sure that you are clear with this particular concept of permissions. All right, guys, take care. See you in the next class.